In the heart of an ancient village, long forgotten by time, stood a crumbling bell tower that loomed over the landscape like a silent guardian. The bell, massive and cracked, had been dormant for decades. No one could remember the last time it rang, but everyone knew what it meant when it did. It was said that each toll was a summons, a call for something dark lurking in the shadows of the village. The elders told stories to the children, warning them never to stay out after sunset, and most importantly, never to listen to the sound of the bell. For when the bell tolled, someone wouldn't survive the night. On a windy evening, a young traveler named Marco, a stranger seeking adventure, disregarded the local superstitions. He had decided to spend the night in an old abandoned inn that sat at the edge of the village, just beneath the towering shadow of the bell. The inn was decrepit, its walls crumbling and its windows long shattered, yet something about the place intrigued him. As the wind howled outside, Marco lit a small candle and settled in for the night. He had heard the stories, but to him, they were nothing more than the ramblings of superstitious villagers. Hours passed and the night deepened. The wind outside grew fiercer, rattling the inn's frail structure. Marco lay awake in the darkness, the flickering flame of his candle casting strange shadows on the walls. Suddenly, a sound broke through the wind, faint at first, almost like a whisper, but unmistakable. The bell. It tolled once, deep and resonant, filling the night air with a chilling echo. Marco froze, his heart pounding in his chest. The stories had mentioned this, the single toll, the omen. He told himself it was the wind, that the bell tower was old and unstable. But before he could convince himself fully, the bell tolled again, louder this time. The sound seemed to vibrate through the very walls of the inn. Marco got up, the hairs on the back of his neck standing on end. He moved to the window, peering out at the village below. The streets were deserted and the wind whipped through the narrow alleyways like a restless spirit. Another toll, even louder. Marco's breath caught in his throat. This wasn't natural. He knew deep down that something was coming, something old, something hungry. The stories were true. Desperate to escape the eerie sensation creeping up his spine, Marco backed away from the window. He glanced around the room, unsure of what to do. But then he heard it, a soft, shuffling noise just outside the door. His blood ran cold. There was no one else in the inn, of that he was certain. Slowly, he moved toward the door, his hand trembling as it reached for the handle. He pressed his ear against the wood, listening. The shuffling stopped. Silence. Marco's heart pounded in his ears as he debated whether to open the door. Just as he was about to step back, the bell tolled again. This time it was deafening, as if the tower itself had moved closer. And then something scratched at the door. A slow, deliberate sound like nails dragging across the wood. Marco stumbled backward, his heart racing. Whatever was outside wasn't human. He could feel its presence, an ancient malevolence that seeped through the cracks in the door. The bell tolled once more, and Marco knew this was his final warning. The stories had never explained what happened after the fourth toll, but he didn't want to find out. He bolted toward the window, ready to escape into the night, but as he reached it, the room went cold, unnaturally cold. His breath fogged in the air, and the candle extinguished itself, plunging the room into darkness. Marco stood frozen, unable to move, his eyes wide in terror. And then, in the silence, the bell tolled one last time. The door slowly creaked open,